I told you it's like the Queen's Gambit. If you all have seen that show, that series where she sees the chess pieces, it's like seeing this vision. And I see the vision of either reading a room or the intentions of people, and things just come in and I sense and see what's there.
Welcome to The Way of the Muse, a podcast for women who want to create richness in every area of their lives, from business and career to lifestyle, relationships, family, purpose, and fulfillment. I'm Gigi Sage.
And I'm Makena Sage. We're a mother-daughter coaching team, and combined, we've spent over 4 decades helping people create their best and most fully expressed lives. If you're ready to step into your bigger dreams with ease, fun, and flow, you're in the right place. Let's get into the episode. Welcome back. We are talking about the art of seeing between the lines today. Hi, Gigi.
Hello, Makena. Everybody's like, what?
What on earth are they talking about? Yeah, so what is the art of seeing between the lines? I think we've been looking for a way to describe this because it's like, let's call it a superpower. Mm-hmm. The way I like to think about it is if you were a real life like superhero, or if you had a cool like magic power, I feel like this would be it for you, mm-hmm. Gigi, is the art of seeing between the lines. And so it's something that is I think a unique, maybe natural gift in some ways of yours, but you've also developed it, and then you've taught it to me to a large degree, and you teach it to some of our clients and in your mentorship program. So I wanted to describe this because I think most people have no idea that something like this even exists. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's just talk a little bit about it. Well, first of all, maybe we just touch on what the art of seeing between the lines is. What does this allow you to do when you cultivate this skill? It allows you to, you said, like read a room. Can you think of some other examples?
Yeah. To see the intentions of people, often. Also identify like leaks in any business system. So, I can walk into a business and I can often feel and sense what's going on in the people and everything. And also it really allows you to build deeper connections with people because you can see the deeper desires, the pains, what's going on beneath the surface, which is, again, one of my gifts, obviously, that I've really crafted, right? So when I sit down with anyone, I see this. I don't look for it, but I see it, right? And then also see where to take your life or business and what results of your decisions are going to likely be. So if you did choose this direction, what's going to happen? Now, the fascinating thing, I just want to interject this. I can see this in everybody else's life, but not in mine.
So the art of seeing between the lines does not necessarily, well, you do have this, I'd say, in your relationships, like you can still see things with people, but in terms of where to take your life, that part's still hard. Well, good thing, I don't know. You have this for me, so I'm grateful to have your influence in my life here. I try to do it for you, but I'm not sure. Have quite the aptitude. Yeah. So, okay, before we go into like describing, because that's a lot of interesting things and I want to dive deeper into them. What does that mean? Read a room, and how do you, a lot of these questions, but how did you develop a skill like this? I'd love to can you think about where did this even come from?
I guess I think it's always been a natural gift. There's something about even as a child, and I can see where I really supported in a drug abuse program for a while. And so I early on in my teens started working with people, around AA steps, but it was for drugs, right? And so by doing these like groups with people and everything, I would sit in those and I would start to kind of see, what was going on in people's lives. And then what happened when I, stumbled upon my journey of really going into personal development, and I went to my first workshop, and then I sat in that workshop and basically watched the facilitator put people in front of the room and interview them and ask them questions like, what do you want? and we would watch for them to light up. And I was just like, oh my gosh, fascinated by this, because I think I already had a curiosity there. So this gave me new skills, right? And this is also what we do in our work. And the other thing is, then as I learned my craft, the first part of my craft was learning to observe people and to be able to observe without judgment, and I would say this one thing about artisting between the lines is it's being in a neutral state. That's the biggest thing. Yeah.
Can you just describe the experience for me? I mean, we're going to go into different ways that this shows up, or people, as they learn the skill, could utilize it. But when you're in that state, what does that feel like? Or what do you see? How do you experience that?
Yeah, it's a neutral state. It's the skill we teach of curiosity, being really, really curious and sitting back and being receptive. So it's all the skills we teach, and sitting in that, like we teach our coaches, just sit in the seat of the coach. And when you relax like that, what happens is, because there is no, well, I don't know.
Yeah, but what do you see, or what do you see? How do you experience that state?
I experience it as, it's, I told you it's like the Queen's Gambit. If you all have seen that show, that series where she sees the chess pieces, it's like seeing this vision. And I see the vision of either reading a room or the intentions of people, and things just come in and I sense and see what's there. I don't know how to describe it.
Well, I want to describe that scene because most people probably haven't seen it. So this is a show called The Queen's Gambit on Netflix.
Yeah.
And there's this scene, she's basically a chess master. And there's a scene where she's lying in bed. She's, I think, a little crazy, or a little high or something, but still she's lying in bed and she's seeing these huge chess pieces, I think on the ceiling or something like that, in her mind. And she's moving them around and playing these entire games of chess in her mind. Right? Is that what the scene is?
Yeah.
And seeing all the different outcomes and what, and getting better and better by playing chess inside of her mind. Yeah. And so I love that description, because I often refer to you that way. I say you feel, to me, it feels like having a chess master who sees 10 steps ahead on the board, or at least a few steps ahead, where, of course, we can't predict the future, but your impact, your influence in my life is something I want to touch on around this. Is like, I mentioned this in the last episode, is I can really look at times when you have said something to me and said, go this direction or do this thing. Of course, always in service to me. You're not just giving me advice. You're looking to see. And I look back on those moments in my life and I see major turning points where you told me to do this versus this, and I really am always asking you, what do I do? Or what do you see? And we have so much trust there that when you've told me those things, as long as they felt in alignment for me and it checked out against my own desires and what felt right, then I would take that action, and it would become this like two roads diverged in a wood moment, where if I had taken left, I don't know where I would have been, but taking right, I can see the impact, the ripple effect that had on my life for years to come in a really positive way. So that is this thing of, like you're saying, seeing all these pieces on the board as you go into the state, and you see that, right?
Well, it's more like people are like that for me. People are my chess game, right? And because, again, I've honed my craft for so many years that, think about it, I sat in workshops for 15, 16 years, interviewing people in front of the room. And, that state I go into when I interview people is one of complete receptivity, and also, like I said, a neutral state. So in that state, because there, like you mentioned, there's an element of trust there that, I'm not trying to influence them in any direction. Now, sometimes people will think that, right? Because of course if they have resistance come up, but basically all I do is I relax enough to where I see, first of all, often what they want, and they know it deep down, but they won't admit it to themselves. And so I reflect that by asking questions or by them digging deeper. And so that is a practice matter. And like I said, that I think I've developed that skill so much because of learning to observe without any kind of agenda. And of course, I'm human, right? I mean, there will be times that maybe I have an agenda if it's one of my kids or, and, I can get off like anyone else. But I will tell you this, I am very aware when I get off. I can feel it in me, and I feel like the push or pull of wanting something to happen. So I don't know if
And
that
you're
helps.
saying interviewing people, and this is the process. This is kind of like the soul reveal process, right?
Yeah.
Will you describe, because this is what you did with me when I was totally floundering and struggling to figure out what I wanted and where I wanted to take my life. And you took me through this process over the course of a couple of days. And I didn't really know you were doing it at the time, but can you just describe a little bit about what a soul reveal is? Because people, I don't think, have any context for that.
It's again, I'm actually have created where I now do this with people, take them 3 days. And it's a journey of kind of digging deep into what do you want at this time in your life, or where are you going, or what do you see, or, and I do that by this process of sitting with you and asking questions in such a way that we don't try to make decisions. We just talk. We talk basically. And I do that through, like I did with you, taking walks with people and allowing people to unwind in such a way and to have complete trust. And so they can share their deepest fears, the things that they really can't say to anyone else in the world. And I'm not a therapist, so I'm not going to try to take them back to their past. And not that all therapists, I value therapists completely, but it's a very different thing. And so out of my neutralness again, people start to see themselves and they start to see what they want. So I have an ability to hold space for the person and for them to really walk and talk through, like I said, things that they can't even really be honest within themselves often. And when we speak it into the world and they're able to speak it, then something happens. Their soul does get revealed. They start to feel and sense into what do they want and who they are. And often we have to go through maybe some of the pain in their life or things that have been sitting on their hearts for a long time. But through this process, then they reawaken or sometimes wake up for the first time in their life and really, really see what they want and who they are and where they want to go. And for you, that was the experience. You didn't have anywhere for anyone to hold space for you like that.
This was pivotal. This was a true, turning point. And that's why I tell this story all the time. And the experience on the other side of that, being asked those questions, and, it wasn't like we were just sitting in a room doing that, like you said, walking and talking and getting out and relaxing, getting a massage. And so the experience was that I was in my life, and it felt like you often say this, it felt like the blinders were on, like I couldn't see past my experience that I was in and trying to work through this problem of, why am I feeling stressed and anxious all the time? What is it I want to do next? What should I could not break through to see anything. And when you guided me through this experience, first of all, I relaxed in a way that I don't think I had relaxed in years. And this often happens when women come to our retreats as well, and men and women. And so there's this deep relaxing and unwinding. And it took me out of the loop. I was no longer looping around and around and around. I relaxed and my vision sort of opened. In a way, it was my first experience of seeing between the lines, where I started to see in a different way. As you asked me questions, new thoughts or ideas or old ones I had forgotten, or different things started to pop in, and I started to have more clarity come through. And like you're saying, there were fears that were there were pains underneath, there were things we had to also talk about for those to come up and be expressed, because they were in me and I didn't even know they were necessarily in me on a conscious level. But I think those were getting in the way of me also really getting clarity and really moving forward in my life. And so that's why I always describe this experience as that moment of clarity dawned, because I saw something different. I saw my life stretch out in front of me. I started to see those visions and desires and everything else. And so this was, I think, really the first time you guided me through this experience, the soul reveal. And it was my own first glimpse at seeing between the lines in my own life.
Yeah. And we had to, again, get in neutral ground to do that, and so if we would been sitting in your home, I probably wouldn't have gotten you there.
Yeah, I don't think so. That's why, again, the soul reveal is you take people out for a couple days or 2-3 days. And then the retreat, similarly, the women come out of their lives and really have that experience. So this is you, we're going back to what your experience of those moments is you start to see the pieces of someone's life as they're talking to you. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
And then their desires and what's really going on underneath. And then, like you said, you create this open space where it really creates almost like this is going to sound very woo, but like an energy field or a force field or something, where when I talk to you and you are asking questions and you're in that state, I start to see more.
Of course.
Even if you're not saying anything.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating.
Yeah. Because again, I'm holding that space of neutrality. Yeah. And, you don't get that very much in your life, anywhere in your life. Everyone wants something from us, or, has opinions, or is constantly trying to move us one way or another. And again, it doesn't mean they're bad or wrong or anything. That's just kind of the worlds around us, right? Or you've spent your whole life, maybe if you're listening to this, being someone that, deep down you're not, and to find that place where you can finally unwind and truly tap into who you are, there's just not a lot of spaces to do that in the world. Yeah.
It's the biggest relief in the world. I just can't even, it's such a relief to be like, like you said, say the things that need to be said that are heavy on your heart, let those go. Really see, what are my true desires? What do I really want? Instead of logically, what's the next step? And then tap into, who am I really? And that's been not just in that turning point moment, because that was just the beginning, right? And then having your guidance over the years to continue helping me tap into that in myself. And then to learn to do this with others has just completely, is this experience of coming home to who I really am.
Yeah.
Like now I know who I am through and through. I'm sure there's always more to learn, and I'm open to that, but I know who I am on such a deeper level. I know my flaws, I know my gifts, I know, and I'm just comfortable in my skin and living in alignment with that.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more then. You said read a room. It helps you read a room.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
And I think women have this ability, a natural ability to do this, right? And mine is, again, just very, developed. But women can do this. When I would do my workshops for women about men and women, how we're different, I'd say, if you walk into a room, into a party, what do you see? And, most women will say, I see the clothes, I see the people. But the other thing I always share with them is, I can see who's talking with who and who's thinking about talking with who. So I can see the invisible connections between people. And most women.
You are so good at that. You've taught me this to some degree, but the level to which I'm like, man, like, how did you pick up on that?
Yeah. And I just, and again, I'm like not sitting there trying to look at something. I'm neutral. And so I walk in and all I do is I watch and feel what comes into my consciousness, something that someone says or a way someone is or the way someone's talking. And it just comes in, it's not like I'm trying to find it or something. I just walked into the room. So
But
that's
you
how
don't
it
make
works.
assumptions either. I think
No.
that's important
Yeah.
because some people might start to go, oh, well, I think this and that, and this person's probably whatever. But I think for you, it's like the information comes in and then you just watch and you wait.
I wait. Yeah. Yeah. Wait.
Yeah.
Because
Why
I'm
do you do that?
because I'm a human being and I don't want to, I have to be really careful not to uh, believe. I have to wait and see because so often people talk to my clients will talk to me about a situation or something happening in their business or someone in their business. And I absolutely see they're not going to work out. And I sometimes cannot say that. I have to wait. There's a timing to things because if I say that, they're going to be like, no way, or, all this kind of stuff. So I see, okay, we wait. And when there's a moment or an opening, maybe I can reflect back. And so, yeah, that's just a timing thing. When I was younger, I used to just brutally say everything and have learned through, a little bit more finesse as I've gotten older. Yeah.
Well, tell me why that's important though. Like, why did you need to finesse? Because if people have glimpses of this for themselves, or if they come and they learn this, let's say from you, and they go out and they just start saying
Learn.
what they
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's I think
Great.
one thing is that sometimes it might not be correct, right? As
Yeah.
you're learning. So you want to be
Yeah.
careful with that. But the other reason is why? Why is it important to
It
not?
creates resistance in the field, right? In your world. And you don't want to do that. The other thing is things need a timing. Sometimes things need to evolve. Maybe that person needs to be there for a certain amount of time to finish a project, to do something. And so I wait for the moment where I feel like, okay, now is the time to say this because it's actually hurting the business, or, it's a virus in the business. I always say, if you've got bad energy in there all the time or somebody gossiping or whatever, then that affects the business. So that's why. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
you've taught me this in my relationship hugely. And this is something that Sonny says to me all the time. He's like, I'm just amazed at how my timing,
Yeah.
because I see all kinds of things
Yeah.
in the relationship because you've taught me not about him or something, just like, again, like you do for me, I see this direction or this thing that we need to address, or if he does more, if we, not even just him, if we as a couple go more in this direction in our lives or whatever it might be, you've taught me to see in this way where I'm sort of helping to guide and shine a light on something there. But I don't just go out and say everything I see right when I see it.
Yeah.
And that's a huge piece because there is a timing. If I did that, it would, like you're saying, if it wasn't the right moment, if it wasn't, then he would have a lot of resistance, or it would create maybe more of a mess than it helped. And so I wait and I watch and I see, and then there's a moment where I share.
Mhm.
And usually he's able then to be open to that, or maybe he has some questions, or, maybe we get to dialogue about that and see. But that he's always like, how do you do that? And it's because you taught me timing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's such an important piece.
Huge important. Yeah. Yeah. And I teach in the dynamic between men and women, because again, that's just my study for so many years. I'm open to all sexes, all kinds of things. But I teach women also how to see in terms of to support their partner, and the same thing for the men to support, their partners as well. And also seeing the bigger picture and everything. And because that is, that's why I love to work with power couples, is because when you have that dynamic of two people that really learn, and I really help the women, because women have, again, this natural receptivity, and our underlying instinct is for collaboration. And men also see a lot. They see a lot, But a lot of times what will happen is there'll be a judgment. And I'm not saying that in a judgment way. It's just because, remember, again, with men, their underlying instinct is to provide and protect. So I really work with the women around supporting them on how to start to see the bigger picture and see where to go in their relationship and their life and their business and everything, and how to collaborate with their men to really grow this strong union that they build something powerful together.
It's really cool. I'm just reflecting in this moment because, like you said, a lot of times this art of seeing between the lines is hard to do in our own lives. It's hard to do for ourselves.
Yeah.
But in a couple dynamic, in a relationship, you can do it for your partner and then for the relationship, which in a way is almost like a sneaky backdoor to doing it for yourself. I've never really thought about that before, but somehow the fact that it's not about like just self-reflecting on you makes it where you can actually access this superpower in a different way. And you can use it to see more the direction and how to move in that direction. Something about the dynamic of two people changes things.
Two people in the relationship as an entity is almost like a person, you know?
Yeah. So interesting. Okay. So reading a room, we talked a little bit about that, seeing the intentions of people. I think you touched on identifying the leaks in a business system. So that's often people related, or is it always people?
No, sometimes, again, I will see just there's breaks or breakdowns in the system in terms of, how something's organized, or the systems for me in the logistical way things are handled in a business. Hugely,
I want to give an example of this. I remember a company that someone we know worked for a few years ago, and there was just some things in the communication with the founders that ended up actually being the downfall of the company. They split, they went into legal disputes or what have you, and it went on for years that this company, which was an incredible company and they were doing great things in the world. But I remember there was a point where there was starting to be some signs of something going on there. And I thought, man, if we could bring in Gigi, you could have shone a light on what was going on there and the dynamics in such a way and guided them so that they didn't have to come to that outcome of the business falling apart. And I think that's what you're describing in terms of, it's one of the examples of what you're describing in terms of like leaks in the system or seeing a few steps ahead is like, often there are these things that start out small, and if they continue, they become huge.
Yeah. And then people don't know how to navigate conflict. And as you know, that's the other really strong area for me, is the dynamic of communication on how to create harmony in systems. Yeah. And it's one of my passions. Yeah. And that's so often the misunderstanding between people, or like you said, especially in a company, is the owners or, people who are high up in the business and not having a way to navigate and have a place to really work through things, again, where there's neutrality. Yeah.
And I think this is one of the reasons your clients that, or our clients that have worked with you for 10, 12 years plus, one of the things they would probably say they value the most is that you come into their lives and their businesses and you see for them in this way.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You come in and they talk and they share and you sort of scan with your spidey senses.
Yeah.
What's going on? What are the pieces? Who are the players? How do they, and again, you share these little bits in the right timing. I'm speaking from my own experience and then watching you do this with other people, that it creates, they could have had a great life anyway, but again, it creates that exponential growth, or it creates that those things that start out small stay small and they get handled instead of turning into huge breakdowns down the road.
Yeah. And I mean, it's simple things. The other thing is, because of my years of experience just working with people feel safe with me normally, and if they don't, usually I always wonder about that. But anyways,
somehow they get there.
they feel safe with me, so they open up to me, and a lot of clients will bring me in to talk to their staff and to do one-on-ones. And I did that, in large companies as well, like JP Morgan Chase. But there was one particular situation just in the last few years where it was a legal firm, a client of mine, and I talked to all of her staff. I think it was, I think there was like 14 women or something working for her, and had individual calls with each one. And they had a new software system that when I talked to two of the women who they just would not use the software system. And this had been going on for, I think, a couple of years, and it really was slowing down things because it would, speed up things. They could make money so much faster. And so through my conversation with them, I said a couple of things, and it was, I think 2 weeks later, the owner called me and said, "What did you do?" Because now they said they're going to learn the whole system. And the man who was also in the business with her was like, "Who is this person? How did she get them to do this?" They would not do it for, before that. So again, I just say simple things and people understand, I think also that I mean business.
Yeah. And it plants a seed. It's like you say these things. I've had this experience so many times. Just in passing in a conversation, like you just drop some little thing in and then I go and I think about it. People do this. I think all of our clients do this. They go and they think about it and they think about it and they're like, maybe it starts to show them, they self-reflect in a different way, or I self-reflect in a different way in those moments. And I'm like, why am I doing it this way? Or what is the impact of that? Or, is this really getting me what I want, or whatever it might be? And that's where, again, I start to make some of these changes. So yeah, this is.
Do you have any examples? Because maybe do you have any examples? Or?
Yeah, I just gave this example the other day. This is, again, coming back to a relationship example, is a few years ago, maybe 3 years ago, my husband really wanted to do this program. It was a 2-year program that was about somatics and attachment repair and some energetic work. And a lot of our friends were doing it. Some had done it before. They were doing it again. And it involved 7 retreats over 2 years. So 7 4-day retreats over 2 years that you would fly out, you would learn in person. And I was a little curious about it, but I had a lot of other things I was learning and doing at that time. I thought, I don't know if I want to invest that kind of time, money in this particular program. There's other things that I'm really excited about right now. And I didn't want to do it just to go along with what everybody else was doing. I'm a little, maybe because I was homeschooled, I'm like, I don't want to just do what the whole crowd is doing. And so I was like, I don't think I'm going to do this, and I was going back and forth and whatever. And I remember you said to me, McKenna, it was like the day before the application was due, or the night the application was due. And you said, McKenna, you need to do this program. And I was like, I told you all my reasons. And you were like, I don't remember what you said, but you said, if you don't do this, you guys are going to, not that we would part or something like that, but your paths are going to diverge here. And there's something important in you being there, going, even though it's not the thing that you necessarily, and I did it. I went for it. I trusted your guidance there, invested the time, the money, the energy, flew out to all the retreats. And first of all, it was had a really great impact on my life. But secondly, it was huge in terms of my relationship, because not only was it us spending this time together, this quality time together, learning, we had more of a shared language around all of this. He would have otherwise gone and learned all this stuff. I wouldn't have learned it. He would have felt like I didn't understand. It would have been a whole different dynamic. And then also, because our friends from San Diego, we were living in Austin at the time, a lot of our friends from San Diego were in this program. We developed deeper relationships with them again, and some new people that are in our community here. And that really was what led us back to San Diego. It really kind of guided us back in this direction. And we're so happy to be back here now. And if I hadn't done that program, I would have had resistance to moving back to San Diego. Yeah. I would have felt like I was left out of something. I would have felt like maybe he was judging me for not understanding some of the things. There's so many things I can see that if I had not done that, it would have been just a lot more challenging. And it facilitated something really beautiful. We're a deepening in our relationship, a stepping into the next chapter together. So that's just one example, but there's so many of those over the years.
Yeah.
Big and small in personal and in my business. So so I wanted to kind of describe this a little bit, because this is not only something that when people come in and work with us. So we talked a little bit about the mentorship in the last episode, but if someone didn't listen to the last episode, you've decided that you're going to do this work for 3 more years, right? Mm-hmm. So Gigi's going to retire here soon. And in that, you were looking at, just what did you want these next 3 years to be about? Do you want to just touch on that again?
Yeah. And I really wanted to mentor. I want to mentor people. 2 things. I want to mentor in our mastermind. So we shifted that to mentorship, and business coaching also is in there, but also for the women to really learn what I know and to take them through, and even things like this that we're talking about in the scene. And then the other thing is to have a big impact on leaders and to really work deeply with really men also that are powerful leaders and need vision and need to have this person in their life, again, that they can, a sounding board. Yeah, so,
absolutely. Yeah. So if you're listening to this, or you listen to the last episode and you feel like there's a curiosity there, I mean, really, I think of this as like, who do I know that is looking for the kind of guidance, mentorship that they want to grow and accelerate, not in the way that I did, in their own way, but like, again, I've had this huge transformation in the last 6 years, and I'm like, who else wants this? Who else needs this? Because I can't even describe my gratitude and just like the change in me. Again, there's so many of those points, 2 roads diverged, and I could have gone a different path, and I don't know where I'd be today. And instead I feel in so many ways, so happy, so fulfilled, and just have grown my success exponentially, and my relationship and my health. I mean, so many different things. And so if you're listening to this and you're curious about that, then definitely reach out to us about this mentorship, because it is growing in your own business or your career, or, your visions and dreams, but it is also learning some of these things, like the art of seeing between the lines. Imagine having this superpower. I mean, you've really taught me this over the years, and I use it in my coaching. I use it in my relationship. I use it in my community and friend. I mean, I see so many different things I never saw before. And it's such a cool experience to be able to sit back in any conversation. And it's almost like you're saying, like the chess pieces, I don't see it quite like you do, but it is like I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like there's another field of vision on top of this field of vision. And there's little like things that pop up there. It's like more information. It's almost like unlocking, it's like unlocking another sense or something. It's like, oh, this piece of information or this thing or that thing. And it's not ever to manipulate or anything like that, but it is to just, it helps me ask deeper questions with people, build better connections. It helps me support people in my life, absolutely support our clients to a deeper degree. So if you are someone that's something you're curious about, we're going to go really deeply into that in the mentorship program, which is why I wanted to one of the reasons I wanted to just share about this is because you might not even, it's the superpower you never knew you needed or wanted. Yeah. Oh, well, thank you for sharing a little bit more about this. It's such a fun topic to me. And I want us to have plant the seeds of lots of amazing superheroes out there that develop this as yet another, skill and something they can draw upon for their own lives and for the people that matter to them. So
absolutely. Yeah. Fun. Thank you so much for bringing it up. Yeah. And thank you to the listener. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed this and it's not too out there for you.
Oh, we didn't say how you can get in touch with us. If you're curious at all about the mentorship or anything else, the Soul Reveals, just reach out at support@wayofthemuse.com, or you can always go to our website, wayofthemuse.com, and read more. The Soul Reveals, Gigi, I know we're going to be on your new website, which will be launching soon. And that is gigisage.com. So if you're curious about more of that one-on-one deep dive, turning point kind of experience, that's where you can learn more about that. All right, everyone. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.
That's our episode for today, but let's not make it the end of our love story. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and think of some women in your life you'd love to share it with. And if you want to learn more about our events and programs, visit wayofthemuse.com. See you next time.